Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show that I want to start with a question. Are you successful, like considered successful by societal standards, but maybe you have a little bit of difficulty or challenge enjoying your success because you're so busy sort of moving on to like the next thing, right? The next thing on your to-do list. Are you able to recognize your success at all, or are you someone who always feels like you're behind or that you could be doing more? Or is your success more like just checking boxes that you don't necessarily feel excited about? You're just kind of getting it done because you have to get it done. If you're nodding your head yes to any of that, then I think you're going to really love this episode, because in this episode, I'm talking about the power of redefining sex. Look at that. Is that a Freudian slip or what, people? Redefining success for ourselves, especially as high-functioning codependents, right? I'm going to be giving you some real-life examples of how our stories about success can sort of lead us astray. A lot of times we have these limiting beliefs that lead us astray and make us not be able to really enjoy our success. And trust me, I know from whence I speak, because this is something I continue to struggle with, and practical steps that you can take to embrace sort of this new version of success that we can co-create together. So before we get into it, if you happen to be new to this YouTube channel, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert. I'm the author of a book called Boundary Boss, also the Boundary Boss Workbook, also my brand new book, Too Much, a guide to breaking the cycle of high-functioning codependency. And you can get that book at hfcbook.com, and all of the bonuses are still available if you want to read about high-functioning codependency and get healthy. I just found out that approximately 67% of you watching my videos, which I so appreciate, but you're not subscribed. And I have to go, why not? Click the button. It'll take 1 second. I know you're watching because the content is right up your alley, because you leave me comments all the time, right? You're telling me how the content is changing your life and helping you communicate better and put yourself first. And I love that so much. It literally warms my heart. It's the reason that I do all the things that I do. But the best way for you to support my work here is to subscribe. It's free, and it's also the only way to get updates when something new drops, which I do twice a week, as most of you know, and I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. So please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get informed every time I roll out new stuff on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. Thank you so much for being here with me. Now, let's move it on into today's episode. All right, so my own personal inspiration for this episode is my own feelings of having a lot of ambition and getting to a certain level of success, and then always sort of looking at the next thing. So I work very hard, and have had a lot of years of therapy, to try to stay present and be grateful for what is right, what is working, the success that I've had. Another thing that inspired me is that I was talking to a member of my mastermind, Flourish, which, by the way, we're taking applications right now. We start on March 1st. So if you're interested, go to terricole.com/flourish. But we were talking about success, and she was saying that her high-functioning codependency makes her not really be able to enjoy her success the way that she would really like to. She's exhausted and she feels burnt out. So you may identify with that. You may feel that, because I think that sometimes before you're successful, there is this illusion that once we become successful, it will be easy, that it will be smooth sailing, that there won't be any problems. Or at least I think when I was younger, that's what I thought. Like when I really made it, then everything was going to be just a well-oiled machine. And that's not really necessarily true, right? There's always challenges. There's always things to figure out in your business. But before we get into those things, let's talk a little bit about your own downloaded success blueprint, right? What does it mean to you? And I also will give you these in the guide that goes along with this episode. I'll give you some of these questions. But we really have to look at, like, what did we learn about being successful? So my own downloaded success blueprint was me watching my father be successful And I had all of these sort of direct messaging from my mother telling me that if I wanted to be free in life, I needed to get an education and I needed to make my own money. Because in my family of origin, my mother was going to college. She had, worked for 2 years in a factory to save up money to go to college. And then she got pregnant with my oldest sister literally before Thanksgiving break, basically. So my parents got married in this little teeny back office church in Glens Falls, New York, I believe it was. And my mother dropped out of school and never went back. So therefore, to me, the person who had the power in my parents' marriage was my father because he had the education and because he made all the money. So I took that assignment. I understood the assignment that my mother was giving me, and I took that shit very seriously. I was like, what I will never be is dependent on someone else, which of course, obviously, I needed to work through a whole bunch of intimacy stuff therapeutically because of that and father wound stuff and all the things. But you have that too. You have your own downloaded success blueprint. What did you learn from your family of origin? Was it good to be successful? Was it bad to be successful? Some families, if the family is more working class, and if you're someone who then decides to go to school and work on Wall Street, you could even be looked down upon for being successful. So it's not as straightforward as it may seem. And your downloaded blueprint around success is truly as unique as your fingerprints, right? Because we all have these different life experiences. But it's really the blueprint itself, which you'll see with the questions in the guide, that's really about family of origin. I mean, we have societal and family norms that condition us. And then if you come from different cultures, you have some cultures that absolutely value education and success over almost anything else. I was watching Ronnie Chang, the comedian, the other day, and he was talking about, he's so funny, I love him, but he was talking about having Chinese parents and that, there's all this pressure for their kids to become doctors. It was a social status that the family made it if you had a child who became a doctor, and that there was all of this pressure for that to happen. And that's different from other cultures where there's other pressures. You might come from a culture where there's pressure to go into the family business. Maybe you come from a farming family, and actually maybe you want to become an engineer, but there's pressure for you to take over the family business. So we all have our own reasons why we relate to success the way that we do, and whether we enjoy it or whether we don't, right? I think that success is not just, when I was younger, all my ambition told me that success was just leaping to the top of the ladder when I was in entertainment, when I was a talent agent, and that, it was all about making more money, having more famous clients, which I did, right? This was part of what I was doing. But the thing was, I really wasn't fully enjoying it. And it got to the point where I finally had to leave that business because even though I was what would have been considered traditionally and societally successful, I was not satisfied or happy. I felt like I was in a business that was very misogynistic, that was telling women they should be a size 0, that, I don't know, I feel like I just became too psychologically and emotionally healthy to stay. And I was lit up about helping people with their own mental health. That was really what I was excited about. And, I hit a pivot moment where I just couldn't deny the truth of what was driving my behavior anymore. What I was interested in was my clients' mental health. That's what I cared about. I didn't care about the movie deal that I should have. I didn't care about the Pantene deal that I should have. I really didn't. So again, that's a perfect example of being quote unquote successful, but I wasn't successful because inside I wasn't happy or satisfied. And again, that, I had to come up with what is my own version of success, not just what does my father think is successful or what does society say is successful. And when you think about what do you need to do to be healthy. I was talking to my friend Chris Carr, and years ago, she's had health challenges. That's, she has 24 stage 4 cancerous tumors in her liver and her lungs, and has had them for over 20 years that she's been managing. And her doctor was very clear that she needed to take 1 week off a month, that she was working way too much, and that to be truly successful, she needed to have balance. And I remember being so impressed. This was years ago, but I remember being so impressed with her doctor. He wrote it on his prescription pad. And I was like, wow, this was her oncologist. She's been her long-term oncologist. And I was like, dude, he is serious. He really means that. And so what that meant to me made me really look at my own life and how much I was working all the time. I mean, certainly for me, I stopped drinking when I was 21, but I would certainly say that workaholism sort of became the replacement for that for a long time. And, obviously that was long ago because I've done a lot of work in therapy and I've been a therapist now for many, many years. But I could see how it was me striving for success sort of became my new addiction because I gave up the old addiction. And sometimes in my therapy practice, I would be dealing with clients who were letting other people dictate what success meant. So I had a client who had become a lawyer because it was like sort of the family business and what people did. And she was really an artist. She was very smart, but she was miserable as a lawyer. And she was only in her early 30s when she was seeing me as a client. And I was like, this can't be this woman's, like, she can't do this forever. And I mean, listen, I didn't say that. She was saying that. She knew it was the truth. And so what we worked on together was her figuring out what she wanted to do. And was there a way that she could fulfill her artistic pursuits to start as like a hobby kind of. And she just started painting, and she started doing small paintings. And then she opened up an Etsy shop and she started selling them. And this was as she was continuing to be a lawyer. And then she started selling more and more. And then she started doing bigger paintings. And then she started doing commissioned paintings. And then she started making almost as much money as an artist as she was as a lawyer. And she started cutting down her hours at the law firm. And of course, nobody liked that. And eventually she transitioned. And even though no one in her family understood why she was doing it, the work that we had to do in therapy was having her realize that this is her one and only life, and that literally we have to live and do the things. One day our parents will all transition. One day we will be left with the lives that we've created for ourselves. And that approval or disapproval from your parent when you are a full-grown adult won't matter. You will regret if you self-abandoned to please a parent to the degree that that client was. And I was so proud of her that she made the move. And of course, I supported her throughout making the change. But the gratification, how creative she was so incredibly talented. She still is. She's still out there doing it. And that took courage to decide that she was going to decide for herself what success meant, right? So there's got to be this new way of thinking about success, right? It's only real success if you enjoy it. According to me, it's only real success if you have a balanced life. It's only real success if you rest when you're tired, if you take care of your health, right? So what are some ideas? If you find yourself sort of on that treadmill or on that little hamster wheel of success and doing so much, what can you do? You have to slow down. If you're not doing any kind of self-reflective work, this is your cue. You're looking for a sign? Here's your sign. You need to be doing some self-reflection about the way that you feel, about how do you want to spend your time, about what is, as Danielle Laporte would say, what is your core desired feeling? Mine has always been and is always freedom. That is my top most valued feeling and experience in my life? What is yours? Right? And we'll include a question or two about this in the guide, which you can get at terricole.com/guide. We got to slow down. We can't just be on autopilot. We can't just be on reactive mode, right? We need to figure out, what are we feeling resentful about in our lives, right? Because a lot of times, especially when it comes to success, when it comes to work, when it comes to corporate life, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, we're resentful because we're overfunctioning, because we're overgiving, because we're overdoing. So we're going to use that information to set better boundaries around your time, around your energy, around your bandwidth, right? We're going to ask ourselves those questions that I talk about from what I wrote about in this book, Too Much, which is, can I do that thing without becoming resentful, right? Do I have the bandwidth? Because part of why we don't enjoy success is if we are overfunctioning in our personal relationships, then we just don't have the bandwidth to do both. So you've got to ask yourself, when someone asks something of you, do I have the bandwidth to do that without becoming resentful? And the second question is, do I even want to do it? Especially when it comes to your personal life. Because listen, you're the same person in your personal life as you are in the work life, meaning one person with a finite amount of bandwidth. Right? None of us have endless energy to give. So you really want to be mindful of where you are giving it. Prioritize having fun, doing things simply because it's fun, playing, right? When you slow down, you will have the capacity to notice the small things in life that bring you joy. When we're constantly on to the next, we're never in this present moment. We're always thinking about what's next on the to-do list. What is the next thing that I must do? It is not a way to create true success. Because really, we become remember the Dunkin' Donuts commercial, like, time to make the donuts.
Time to make the donut.
Of course, when you make donuts this way, there's a reward. People buy a lot of them.
Good morning, folks.
Things become very rote. We are not inspired with what we're doing. We're just doing it to get it done. And I think that there's something so important about us being here now. One of the women in my mastermind had a brother who was, had addiction problems that she was very involved with and she was very codependent with. And over the time that we've been together, she's been able to stop being a high-functioning codependent in that relationship. And the bandwidth that she gained and the depth of intimacy that's been created in her relationship with her brother now, because she's not trying to control him and overfunction. He's now dealing with his own sobriety and doing his thing and doing great. She is like a different person than she was when we started. And she was successful. You would look, she's got a very successful coffee company. Like, if you look from the outside, you would be like, she was successful. But the thing was, the situation with her brother was just robbing so much of her emotional bandwidth and her physical bandwidth. And as she disentangled herself and became healthier in that way and had better boundaries, she has so much more time and energy for herself and to actually enjoy the success that she created. So I would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? Don't forget to go get the guide. Was this helpful? How do you relate to success? Did any of this resonate with you? You can get the guide at terricole.com/guide. I also want to remind you, we are right now taking applications for my Flourish Mastermind. It is a small and intimate experience. It is pretty much the only way to work with me directly. There will be 10 to 12 women in this group. We will be together for 9 months. We meet twice in that period of time for 3 intensive days of transforming. So this is for women who are healers, who are helpers, who own businesses, who are entrepreneurs, because I do both. I feel like what I offer that is unique is that I have one silo where I can teach you how to write and sell a best-selling book, how you can get a book deal, how you can have a podcast like this that I've had for 10 years in September, a successful, highly rated podcast, and all of the business things when you're building an empire, basically, of your own. But then in the other silo is all the psychological and the emotional things that come along with success, and that come along with building, and that come along with changing, and that come along with growing. Because at every level of your success, we will hit different blocks and different limiting beliefs. So that's where I come in. Anyway, check it out if you're interested. I have no doubt that if you decide to join us in Flourish and you fill out an application and then you can jump on a call with me, it will absolutely change your life for the better. Your life will be before Flourish and after Flourish. In the meantime, I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.